Hey, my name is Nemo, and I'm here to review the new PlastiX Dots skates from TJ Exclusives. They did send these out to me, but they gave me complete control to say and do anything I wanted in this video. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to try them out, because they did want genuine feedback. And I was honestly surprised that they approached me, because I haven't done a review on my channel before. But I have watched so many reviews and I have collected so many mice, mouse feet, different pads, and stuff like that. I always am looking for something that kind of gives my setup that little tiny feel where it's like I feel like I'm very, very, very locked into like what I'm doing. I'm probably going to ramble a little bit in this, but I am very, very excited to share my thoughts. So, a little background about me. I mostly play Overwatch. I'm usually a very high ranked player slash top 500 player. And I mostly play Hitscan characters. So, aim is very, very important to me. I have played lots of other shooters, tac shooters, arena shooters, BRs. Like, I've played a lot of games, but the majority of my time does go into Overwatch because that's just my game of choice at the moment. But I also have over 700 hours in Kovacs, and I have some really respectable scores in a lot of scenarios. I have about 200 hours ish in like other various aim trainers. I don't make videos very often, but my aim is something that I am constantly working on. So I do love peripherals. I love trying new things, and I'm always looking for that little thing that just kind of feels like it's the best fit possible and can make me perform at my highest level. When I first installed them, I just installed them on my X2H. That was one of my main mice. I was bouncing between the X2V2 and the X2H. And I only applied them into the X2H so I could kind of test them and see if I actually liked them or not. Because if I didn't like them, I was just going to do my testing, but mostly be playing with my X2V2 that had the standard PTFE skates. They immediately did feel very different from any of the super glides that I've tried, the V1s and the V2s, any type of PTFE skates that I had, and just random various other skates that I've used throughout the time. They did have a very unique feel, especially for dot skates, and I was not expecting it. They have a very textured feeling, especially out of the box, but there is like about a 3-hour break-in period where they are going to kind of just settle in and wear down to the point where it's then going to be the consistent feel that you have for the rest of your time using this. But at first, they were a little loud. That does get very quiet within time, and now like noise is just not really an issue with them at all. They're not the quietest skates that I have, but they are very, very quiet, and especially on hard pads and stuff. They were pretty quiet. They did not feel as scratchy on the SkyPad as just normal PTFE skates and everything like that. But I tested them on as many surfaces as I could. Hard pads, I used the Serapad Kin. I also used the SkyPad. And then for cloth pads, I used the Jupiter from Lethal Gaming Gear and the Venus from Lethal Gaming Gear. The Zero Gravity from Odin. I have a Glorious mouse pad that I used. And then also to the mouse pad that I'm currently maining, which is the Fnatic Jet. Which I think is a little bit more akin to a hard pad than it is a soft pad, even though it's not technically a hard pad. The surface is very unique. But when I was first playing around with them in Kovacs and then in game, they have an extremely textured feel, which does give you a lot more control than I was expecting, especially because they were talking about how smooth the glide was and everything like that. I was thinking it was going to be more akin to just normal dot skates, which are usually just a little too fast for me. There was a very, very textured feeling that I noticed at first, and it did help me get a little bit more control in dynamic clicking scenarios and static. Also, and I was confused by this at first, even though there's that textured feeling, I did also have an incredibly smooth glide. I kind of figured out later that it's because when I was doing the dynamic clicking scenarios or the static ones, I kind of pushed the skates into my pad a little bit more. So that's kind of where the different feel came from, where it's like if I was tracking and I was just gliding across the surface like really light, it was very smooth. But in dynamic clicking scenarios where I had to go and I had to stop like and make a micro adjustment, that textured feel when I put a little bit more pressure into the pad made me feel like I had a lot more control, and it wasn't my normal experience with skates, where I do get that a little bit because I guess I probably do that on all my different mice, but they gave such a good feedback. They really helped me feel like I was very, very in tune with my aim. I was expecting that I would have to go to one of my slower pads at first. Thought I was going to need that for control, but the skates themselves have such a dynamic feel to them. I actually was able to use them on faster pads, even pads that I've been completely uncomfortable with using because they're too fast, like the Sky Pad. They gave me a very, very good feeling of control and helped me perform better with those ones. Since I play arena shooters, I need that smoothness to make bigger movements, and I also need the control to make very precise things. So they were very fun to use. They were very fun to break in. And after the break in process, they did feel a little bit more smooth. They were definitely a lot more quiet, but I still had that textured feel where it really helped me feel very in control for those micro adjustments or precision aiming. But I usually am a very low sense gamer. I usually am playing between 60 to 89 centimeters per 360. So especially for a fast-paced game like Overwatch, that is a pretty low sense. I was actually able to raise my sense. I'm currently playing on 52 centimeters per 360, and I do not feel like I'm missing out on any control because of the feeling that they give me and the feedback that I get. These definitely felt like they hit the sweet spot and had a good balance for me personally. From the moment I put them on, I felt very, very, very adjusted to them. Like it was kind of like a very natural feeling for me to actually switch over to these. Another reason why I use usually harder surfaces and kind of stray away from the control pads is because the muddiness and the stopping power is often like too much for me, especially in the summer. In the winter, I can use control pads just fine. I can kind of adjust to anything, but I live in an area that is so incredibly humid that even in the morning before before I have my arms like on my mouse pad, it's not because of just me being hot and sweaty during my gaming sessions or whatever. The actual surface feels so muddy that oftentimes like it's just an uncomfortable thing to use because there is so much added friction, so much added resistance, and a lot of different glass skates and PTFE ones even, where it's like it's just uncomfortable for me to use the pad because it just gets very inconsistent. And on hard pads, it's one of the benefits of them is they're not going to be affected by the humidity as much. I could already tell that I liked them a lot better than my PTFE or my Super Glides that came with my Pulsar mice. I was excited to switch over, not only like I'd already switched over my X2H, but after a day, I knew that I wanted these on my other main mouse because switching between them, I wanted to have the feel and the feedback that these skates were giving me. So I did try them out on 2 different mice and got to do the whole break-in process again with the X2V2, but I play way too much. So it did not take long for me to do the break-in process on the other mouse. And I can say that for the pads that I do have, there is a lot more of a consistent feel that I got from these. They were not affected by humidity for like my jet and everything, which even the glass skates that I had kind of got a little bit sticky, I guess is the best way to describe it, where it's like it felt like I was getting extra resistance just because of the humidity on the surface of the glass. I didn't have any of those issues on my jet, and obviously my Skypad and Serapadkin, even like the LGG Venus that I was using, it was not really affected by the humidity. I didn't have any issues with the consistency of the mouse. Another thing that I did notice too when I was using it, so for the Jet and the other hard pads that I have, normally if you get like a little tiny thing of dust or dirt like underneath your mouse feet, or if a hair falls on my mouse pad, which is kind of gross to say, but it gets under your mouse, like it's a very uncomfortable, scratchy feeling. Even if I'm mid fight, I will try my best to like kind of lift my mouse and then just swipe it off to get it out of the way, because it's such an uncomfortable feeling how scratchy hard pads can be once they get that little bit of dust or a little bit of hair underneath them. That's one of the drawbacks. So I did find with the plastic skates, I could still feel if there was like a hair there, but it wasn't as coarse or as like rough as it did with other skates. I don't know why that is. My dots from G-Wolves that I got and everything, like they would still on hard pads feel like they had that scratchiness if you got them underneath it. I don't know why, but I just found I was cleaning my mouse pads a lot less during this whole thing. I would only be wiping off my mouse pad like a couple times, and it was more so for peace of mind, not because I was having an issue with the feel of the mouse. As for the slower, more control focused pads that I had, there was a little bit of feedback from the humidity. Those pads, though, are already basically unusable for me with other skates. They were affected less than the other ones. That could just be because they're dots, so there's less surface area. But those pads are already ones that I don't really use because they just get so muggy and they get so damp that it's not a good experience for me. Some of the cloth surfaces that I was able to try, because they're less affected by the humidity, like my Venus, it did give me like really, really fun results, and it was fun to play with. But some of those other pads, given the time of year, it's just kind of unusable because it's so hot and humid. Winter and fall and a little bit of the spring before it gets really muggy, I normally go to my slower cloth pads then, because they do feel a lot more usable during those times. But during the summer, I do have to switch over to hard pads. So I haven't used hard pads in a bit outside of my Jet, which people might get mad at me for that. I'm going to call it a hard pad. The surface feels smooth and hard. So I haven't used my ceramic or my glass ones for a bit though. And honestly, I was very surprised when I tried them on hard surfaces, which I shouldn't have been because they're designed for that, but I was. My Cerapad Kin did feel like a lot more of a control hard pad than it did before. With other skates, I felt like I did not have as much control as I wanted, and these ones just bumped up the control that I had on those mouse pads. You could still get the smoothness, like I said, if you were holding it very light and gliding it across, but if you were putting pressure into it, it made those pads feel like control pads, or it made the Cerapad feel like a control pad. The Skypad still didn't feel like a control pad, but I have sworn off using the Skypad for a while. It's kind of like my toxic mouse pad relationship that I keep on going back to, because sometimes I think that I want that speed and smoothness, but then when I use it, I just can't play with it. It's just completely unusable to me. But with these skates, the Skypad was actually salvageable. So I know that not everybody has issues with the Skypad speed. But for me, I felt like it was way too wild and uncontrolled for when I was doing dynamic or static scenarios, or just like when I needed that precision aim in game. Like I felt like the Skypad did not give me enough feedback to really do that. And I'm not going to say that the Skypad was my favorite pad to use, but it was significantly better. And I did play with it for about a week, because it was fun to have the smooth experience, but then have a lot more stopping power from the actual mouse feet than I got from the actual pad itself. So the Skypad did become usable for me. So if you are somebody that has a hard pad and you don't feel like you have enough feedback, it's still like way too smooth and loose, these did change the feel of hard pads for me. Some people might not like it because some people might love that speed and might want it. But if you are someone like me that tried hard pads and just felt like there was too little stopping power, the textured feel on them made them feel like they had a lot more stopping power than I did before, which was really fun. And there's the added benefit of they weren't as affected by the dust and hair and stuff like that. And another thing that I forgot to mention is they are supposed to wear down a lot slower than PTFE feet. They said that it was up to 15 times slower. I obviously have not been able to test to that extent. I've been using them for over a month and putting a lot of hours into them, but I would be nowhere near the point that I would start feeling that wear. After the break-in period, they have felt completely consistent from that period onward to how they feel today. I do believe that there probably is a lot less wear on them. Somebody who uses hard pads and you just pretty often have to feel like you do need to replace your skates because they just get worn down, and then they kind of have like that little bit of like a muddy, sticky feeling on them, or scratchy. These, I have not experienced that at all so far. So that's another benefit. If you are somebody who games all the time and you're very picky about the feel of mouse feet like I am, I did have to replace my PTFE feet quite often. Not like once a month or anything, but more often than I would like to be purchasing mouse feet. I know that it does just sound like I'm completely glazing these mouse feet, but they are legitimately my new favorite skates. I don't see myself comfortably going back to PTFE dots or the stock skates, and definitely not going back to glass, given how good these performed on the surfaces that I like especially. It just felt like it really, really, really ramped up my feeling of control over the mouse, while still giving me that incredibly smooth glide for tracking scenarios. My aim wasn't stuttery or anything like that, but it also was extremely good for those point and click scenarios, dynamic clicking scenarios. I felt extremely in control of my movements with the mouse as well. My jet plus these mouse feet are my new favorite setup, and I am going to have to get more of these because I do have a lot of mice, and I'm going to get new mice in the future because I am just kind of addicted to peripherals. Given all the things that I have tried, I can't imagine going back to those other options. I'm really thankful for TJ Exclusives for sending them out and introducing me to them, because it may have not been a mouse skate that I felt like I had to try, and now that I have tried it, I don't feel like I want to go without it. It just is my new favorite. So if you are somebody like me that you have to use those harder and faster pads, and you like the smoothness, but you just felt like you were missing a little bit of that like stopping power, these give it to you. And I performed extremely well with them. It just feels so comfortable, and I adjusted to them so fast. I just feel locked in whenever I'm using them. It's not too fast. It's not too slow. Like, it really hits that Goldilocks zone for me. And I'm going to have to be getting a lot more of them in order to equip my mouse collection and future mice. If you are looking for something that does give that little bit of control, or you're just looking for something new and you want to try something unique, they are their own skate. And some people might not like them. Some people will. And for me, they are really, really just perfect. So if you find that you need those other qualities that I was talking about with aim or feedback from your pads, I would highly recommend them. I feel like I haven't really had anything negative to say. I guess if there was 8 in a pack, that would be even better for me, so I could put it on more mice. But I'm not really picky, and also too, I did end up using the extra 2 ones to kind of stabilize like the front and back of my mouse, anyways. So just to make it feel like as balanced as possible. So yeah, I do have an affiliate code with TJ Exclusives. You can use code NEHMOE, so Nemo, just like my name is spelled here. And I am not glazing these because I have an affiliate code. I'm not glazing TJ Exclusives because they sent them out to me. I just genuinely believe in these skates, and I'm going to be using them for a while, and I don't see myself switching. These were what I was looking for. If they're what you're looking for too, and you're looking for something different than glass or PTFE or regular dots do, then yeah, these might be it for you. And I definitely think you should give them a try. That's all for my review. Don't really have anything else to say about them. Just try them. They're good. If you want to see me using them, you can come over to my Twitch channel. I do stream very, very often at twitch.tv/Nemo. That's all I got to say. I think as of right now, the Jet plus these are my end game. I just think that I perform my best with them, and if it can help other people really feel the feedback that they've been looking for from different pads, I think that you should give it a try too. I just love gaming. I love new things that really, really, really help me take my game to the next level, and I perform so consistently with these. I genuinely believe in them. If you want to check out my streams, you can come on by. I normally will stream 3 or 4 times a week. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it. But I forgot to say that I am planning on doing an aim guide in the future. So if you would like that and you want tips on how to improve in Overwatch or improve your aim, try to check that out. And if you want to try my Kovacs routine and see what my warm-up is, I can also link that in the description below, and then you can just copy the playlist into Kovacs and try it out and see if you like it. And if you don't or think I'm missing anything, you can also tell me. And I love trying new scenarios and trying out new things and pushing new high scores. So yeah, that's it. See ya.